You are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 15, Rent Lives, a chat with Michel Fiffe.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, coming at you again. I am Jim Purcell.
I'm Craig Olson.
I'm Raven Perez.
And we're back again for another episode. And this one is a fairly special episode. We've got another guest to interview coming up later. Michel Fiffe will be here talking about his work on the Savage Dragon Funnies, as well as his creator-owned work on COPRA and Zegas. But more about that later. So we're going to get right into Erik Larsen news. Erik Larsen will be a guest at the 2013 Arizona Comic Mini Expo. It will be occurring on Free Comic Book Day, May 4th, at Samurai Comics in Mesa, Arizona. Yes. Special guests include Eric, Corey Walker, and Eric Canetti, who I do not know.
Eric Canetti, he's awesome. He's done a few little things here and there. I can't think of off the top of my head what he's done, but his artwork is it's amazing. I look him up, but it's his last name's spelled Canete. But he's done a couple of Marvel things and a Dark Horse book with Rick Remenda. And,
Definitely Google him for sure.
Yeah, his artwork is insane. And Corey Walker and Erik Larsen, all three of those guys at that comic book store are lucky guys to have that for their Free Comic Book Day.
I see something here about exclusives, unique items, and original artwork for sale. No, original artwork will be on display, so not for sale. But Eric and Corey are artists, so I'm sure they'll be doing, and the other Eric are artists, so they'll probably be doing sketches and what have you.
Right.
So if you're in the Arizona area, it's probably worth a trip.
Well, you could definitely go to that acmecon.wordpress.com for more information on that. Moving along, Erik Larsen also posted the cover to Savage Dragon number 188. Got to think this one was probably held back because of the big reveal, but it's an exciting cover. Got kind of a retro logo. Larsen commented that Savage Dragon 188 is another retro cover. Not sure yet if he will beat up the cover as with previous retro covers. And, of course, he's put both versions on there, the clean and slick, untouched version, and the version with the aged effects, torn pages, slightly yellowed colors, things like that.
I'm personally for clean and slick.
Craig?
Yeah, I like the clean version. I mean, he's done the retro version, I think, on 3 different covers now, and if you can go to dragonfan.net to see the 2 different covers, but it's a gorgeous cover. It really is. Like the way he draws the claw is just cool.
Well, we should talk about what's on the cover. It's got.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
It's got a giant-sized claw, who is a character who will be introduced in this current issue that we'll be reviewing later. Who's kind of like this Golden Age type Mandarin type character.
He's like Daredevil's arch nemesis, right?
He is definitely Daredevil's Lex Luthor.
And he has the power to size shift, I believe, because on the cover he's a giant and he's punching the ground, and Malcolm and Daredevil are kind of dodging away.
Definitely, like Craig said, go to dragonfan.net and check out both covers. Voice your opinion. I was originally in the retro camp, but, after seeing them side by side, I got to say, keep it clean. It looks great. It's got a really cool retro logo for Savage Dragon.
Yeah, it's the old Silver Streak logo.
It looks great.
Savage Dragon style.
Yeah.
With the Savage Dragon.
My rationale for the clean look is that I feel Golden Age comics weren't originally published beat up. So.
Fair enough.
They just got that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a really cool cover.
Oh yeah, it's nice. And actually,
I don't think it needs those effects. It's one of the cooler looking dragon covers, I think, honestly.
One thing I am curious about, because the Claw is a giant growing character, is if Rita will get a swing at him at some point.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So moving on, we should talk about the latest issue of Savage Dragon, issue 184. We are a bit behind on the review. It's been out for nearly a month now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe longer by the time this episode gets posted.
Not that much longer. Hopefully I'll have it next week. But this is the issue, of course, right after Savage Dragon has returned from space. And the cover, of course, has got that stark red and white image of Dragon looking at his shadow with the words Savage Dragon on Trial. So this is the big kickoff of the big Savage Dragon on Trial arc.
What's black, white, and red all over? The cover to 184.
Good one, Raven.
Ain't true.
So, I mean, it's a really neat cover because of how the little, how do I even describe it? I'm not an artist. Like, the way he uses blacks, he's got the little scrape
the
marks
ink splatter. Oh, yeah, the scratches. And
that kind of gives it a really dirty, ink splattery look.
Looks like a 1970s kind of horror movie or spaghetti western type poster, the way the font is, in my eyes. I don't know if you guys see that. But
I'm seeing that now that you mentioned it. It does
it's
definitely
got a really good cinematic look.
Yeah.
But right off the bat in the issue, we pick up right where the last issue left off after Dragon KO'd Overlord, aka Flash Mercury. Captain Stewart has just dropped the bombshell that Dragon is now under arrest.
Do you see someone on the Savage Dragon forum pointed this out, and I thought it was kind of funny because I missed it. But on the very first page in the third panel, and Captain Stewart's basically like, "I'm gonna have to, bring you in, Dragon." You see in the background, you see Daredevil kind of just sneaking away.
Yeah, just sort of making his way,
Like, I'm out of here. See ya. No place for a vigilante.
Might have to fill out a witness report. But of course, Stewart's got to arrest Dragon because of all the death and destruction that Emperor Kerr caused, and of course, Dragon, has the same face. So
crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Huge body counts.
Dragon, being the upstanding citizen that he is, immediately turns himself in because running away would be breaking the law. His kids aren't very impressed by it. They think he should run off and escape and what have you, but he then gets very disappointed in them.
He thought he taught him better than that.
And so, he ultimately leaves with Captain Stewart, but one of the cooler splash pages in the issue comes up where it's we get to see Powerhouse again, and just him going through the hood of the cop car is pretty cool.
Excellent shocker. Like, I really felt like that scene was done, then bam, you flip the page, Powerhouse.
Boom! Rips the door off and pulls Overlord right out of Flash Mercury, I guess, in the Overlord outfit, pulls him right out of the back seat, tosses.
Well, that's one thing about this the page that's a little odd, is that, of course, Dragon and Stewart just got into a police cruiser and drove off. I wonder if we're immediately supposed to think that it was Dragon's car that got kicked in.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
There was that moment of doubt. I mean, for me, when I was reading it, I was like, that's a what? And then, he makes it clear once you start reading the, word balloons and whatnot, you realize it's a rescue mission. But
right.
Yeah, for just that moment, you have that where you're not really sure who Powerhouse is attacking.
And you're not really sure of why Powerhouse is saving Flash Mercury, Has he been on Flash Mercury's side the whole time, or...
Right.
What is in it for Powerhouse, and why is he saving him?
Of course, I think Powerhouse is wondering why he's saving him a little bit, too.
Exactly.
You really put your foot in it this time, Flash. I don't know why I'm doing this.
Right.
Which is, again, it's interesting foreshadowing just because now that, I guess Powerhouse, was established as a potential overlord, then it's cleared that it's Flash. But, it's really great because it sort of lets people know that, their relationship, what exactly was going on there as far as who's partnered with who or what, is still, there's still a little bit more to that to go. So interesting, seed put there at least.
At the very least, we learned Flash Mercury is not going to jail right away.
And in fact, the Overlord armor may or may not be, usable, Powerhouse comments on.
Right. And I like the next scene where, Dragon's in the back of the cruiser, Captain Stewart's driving, and they hear over the walkie-talkie, they hear the alert about, Chicken Man, who, Dragon's like, I'm guessing they're talking about Powerhouse. And I like the scene where he's like, you want a hand with that? And then it's just one panel of just Captain Stewart, and it's like he's thinking about it for a second, and then he's like, I think it might be better if you didn't. But I like that panel where he's just kind of looking straight ahead, driving, and not saying anything. It's like he's mulling it over, and it's like, nah, we can't. We gotta bring you in.
One thing I'm a little curious about is how Captain Stewart knows that Dark Lord blew Dragon to bits at one time. Because I didn't think that was public knowledge. I thought that happened away. Everybody? I don't know. Yeah, it might have been something that Dragon told his kids when he visited by hologram a while back. I can't remember.
I think it was no public knowledge, but I don't know.
I feel like it was known. Because I feel like when, Overlord blew him to bits, that I feel like that's when they decided to kick into the plan to try to revive the body.
Yeah. I'd have to look back, though.
Someone on the forum correct us. Please.
Wait, did I say Overlord? I meant Dark Lord.
I think you said Dark Lord.
I thought I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Good point. Dark Lord blew you to bits. I don't
know. We'll have to speculate about that bit later.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I am thinking maybe that was meant to be Overlord. Yeah. Overlord makes more sense than Dark Lord.
Well, no, that's the thing. He talks about Overlord blowing his brains out in the same panel.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, good.
No, I think he really meant Dark Lord. There was that, when Dark Lord went back and...
Well, they went back in time. When Dragon killed Kerr and changed the past, that's when Dark Lord blasted him with his eye lasers and blew, and basically we thought Dragon was dead.
Yeah.
And I thought that happened up on Vanguard's spaceship.
You got to think that Overlord and Dark Lord probably have these same problems with restaurant reservations and stuff. Damn it was Dark Lord, not Over.
See, they should be at some point they should merge into one character and they should just call themselves Overdark.
Dark Overlord, Lord Overdark. Moving right along. Frank and Tierra are having a talk, and you don't really know what's the scoop. They kind of look a little lovey-dovey there. And what's Sailor Outfit's name?
Maxine.
Maxine is looking on. So, yeah, you can definitely tell Frank and Tierra's conversation. Probably not something good, but we find that out soon enough.
So Dragon's in some Supermax prison with steel walls because he's a superhuman. I wonder if he's in what's the name of that place? It always shows up in Invincible. And Dragon. Stronghold State Penitentiary.
Well, yeah, that started in Dragon, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. That's where all the breakouts always happen.
Can I ask?
Go ahead.
Can I ask? Is this does Dragon have a consistent lawyer? Because I love that idea. Wouldn't you hate to be his lawyer?
Yeah. I think Gavin or somebody created the Dragon Wikipedia page for the lawyer, and I think he's had previous appearances. He might have been the lawyer when... Oh, what was it? Yeah, when he was drawing up his living will, if he died, that the Darlings would take care of his kids.
Yeah.
I think that lawyer was the same lawyer.
I just love the idea of this poor bastard who, in this, throughout this, even this page, just to hear him run over, how he's got to try and defend Dragon. He's like, kill all human life on Earth. Doesn't make it better.
Yeah, his name's Smith, right?
Yeah. Come on, Smith. It wasn't me.
He's appeared in 142, 153, and 184.
I want to say Smith probably had hair before he was Dragon's lawyer.
Smith he's the lawyer who helped deal with the fallout of dragon killing Solar Man as well.
Oh, okay.
And he put him in charge of making the Darlings the guardians of Malcolm and Angel. So yeah, he's been around.
Poor bastard.
Good old Smith. And this episode, he pretty much just goes around and interviews all of Dragon's family about what happened, and it's just pretty bizarro. Just imagine hearing these answers.
None of this helps. Don't tell me this. So we cut back to the police department. Malcolm's talking with Stewart, trying to figure out what he can do to help his father. Stewart basically says it's going to go to trial, and the evidence is going to have to stand. That's all that can be done.
Meanwhile, the most inept donut eaters ever.
He's trying to put the Flash Mercury hat on his head.
Check out this evidence, Hort.
Erik always has like the one or two goofy ass cops always doing stupid shit with vicious circle evidence or whatnot.
And the way we know that mask, does it just give you powers?
We don't know.
So
we don't know if it's just for Flash Mercury or if it works on anybody.
My hunch is that it's tied specifically to Flash Mercury since it was given to him by the creator.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it might be tied to him genetically somehow.
And we get that cool splash. I mean, I guess the word is out. I don't know if it's sent by Powerhouse or whatever to go back and capture that mask back for Flash Mercury. So
the double page spread. See, it's brilliant. I love double page spread. Always debuts on a double page spread. It's fantastic.
So she's smashing through the jail and the police department and snatching back Flash's little mask. Why doesn't she have shoes on? I don't understand that.
Maybe she doesn't need them. I have a hunch she's super strong.
Yeah, she busts through a wall like nothing.
Yeah.
Punches out Malcolm like nothing.
It takes a punch like nothing. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty wicked punch to get. I love, just moving through sequentially, like her jumping through the police station or whatever. I don't want to skip that fantastic little guy that's like a head and legs.
When does he pop up? A few pages later?
He grabs we're past the double page spread, she's punching him out, and then you see the middle panel there. He's like, hee, and running off with the mask.
He appeared in the gods. Yeah.
That he is a godling, right?
Yeah, he appeared in one of the early Dragon episodes, issues with the gods. Okay. I think he's actually on one of the covers, the one with it's like the white cover with like Dragon holding Smasher and I think Hercules and Thor going at it. I think it's that cover. I could be wrong. I don't know what issue it was, but he's definitely has showed up before. And we forgot to mention that we get to see John Day knocked on his ass by Double Page.
Yep, that's him getting punched in the face, thrown. I think this is the second time Double Page has got punched, and the reason she gets beat is because she knocks her heads together.
That's fantastic.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't even notice that until you're just saying that right now. That is cool.
That's her only weakness.
Yeah.
Concussions.
So that little godling guy gets away with the mask, so that's that.
We have to assume, I say given that whole sequence, we have to assume that the mask has some potential to people other than Flash. Or, no, wait, you know what? You're wrong. I
think the order was just sent from Powerhouse or whoever to go and retrieve it so that...
You're right. I forgot Flash was, rescued, so that makes sense. My bad.
Yeah. And then, we get a few more pages this issue of Smith, the lawyer, kind of interviewing Angel and Malcolm, and This is actually a good kind of primer issue, I think, for people that want to get into Savage Dragon 2 or people that just need a recap, because it's an interesting way to kind of recap what's gone on and still make it jive with, the trial and fit in seamlessly. So it is kind of a cool little 2-page primer.
He's really good to put exposition in a way that makes sense.
And
it's rarely shoehorned.
And what's great is that Smith is like the new reader getting this info dump, and he's like, "What?
Yeah, seriously?
What's been going on in your life? Seriously?"
It is really, that's a fantastic point. This is a great jump on issue.
Yeah. I mean, we get a little bit of action thrown in there, so it's not just all talking heads, and we get a lot of kind of background information done in a subtle way. So moving along, we get that page. I like this page. It's a page of with Angel confronting what's his name,
Frank Jr.
Frank Jr. about hooking up. Was it with Tiara?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, and you look at it's like it's classic Erik Larsen, like the big eyes and the faces. I really like the way he drew the faces on this, especially the first 2 panels. It's real classic Erik Larsen.
I also love the fact that Frank really was guilty of nothing more than what she was going to do anyway in the exact same situation.
Right.
Fantastic parallel.
Right. And she's just an irrational teenager that's, it's good characterization, I think. Like, just, it seems like something a teenager would say.
The fact that Tiara's pregnant is an interesting twist, though.
Yeah.
It's good in 2 ways, because Frank here is kind of like, he's even selling it. He's not like, I don't love you. He's like, we thought we were going to die, and like, she's leaving, and he's like, she's pregnant. Like, he's making every kind of well, geez, the world was ending, she's pregnant now. It's not like he's not shutting Angel down emotionally. He's just kind of laying out what happened.
Right. And we find out that Maxine works at Hot Dog on a Stick.
Doesn't that make you like her so much more?
That hat really makes me like her.
That's what it is.
Hot Dog on a Stick.
That's an underdog job.
It's a great little franchise.
Hot dogs.
Just like the dopey outfit, Yeah. I didn't like her too much because of the constant sailor outfit.
Yeah.
Which was kind of weird. But just knowing that she's got this crappy job at Hot Dog on a Stick, it's kind of awesome.
The only thing about this page is that last panel with her floating eye. I can't look at it. I don't know if you noticed that, but just her wonky eye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't notice it until you just said it.
Bothers
well,
me.
she's that damn happy.
So Smith drops the bomb on Dragon that if convicted, the sentence, worst case scenario, is that he could get the death penalty.
I'm going to be that guy and just say that there's no death penalty in Illinois, but I'm going to be
Good point. He's probably going, well, and actually I don't think there's a death penalty for a federal case either, so.
That's true. But,
Smith
this is a totally different,
Yeah, the vicious circle may have changed the rules a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to, alien, conquerors and vicious circle.
Al Gore was president for 6 months, so anything's possible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I said, I was just going to be that guy. Douchebag.
But it's funny because Dragon's been killed 3 or 4 times. What's one more?
Right.
And I think it was brought up on the forums, possibly that, killing Dragon could put Kerr back in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
So it's really not a good idea to try and kill him.
Yeah.
He's kind of the good personality right now.
I don't think Dragon will let them kill him. I think he's got a limit. He'd go through the criminal justice proceedings, but if they were actually going to convict him, he'd probably run.
Well,
Can you imagine the willpower? I'm just gonna no, kids. No, it's right.
For the death penalty for Dragon, they'd have to use like the guillotine or something.
Let's go get Omni-Man.
They'd have to just cut his head off.
Throw him into the sun.
So all supervillains should be killed, thrown into the sun.
Yes.
It's Thunderhead.
Thunderhead. We've come back full circle to the beginning of the previous issue where Thunderhead discovered that he and War God had in fact resurrected somebody, just not his father. So we start getting a slow introduction to who that is, and the final page reveal is the Claw.
Dun 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 dun.
Who we mentioned earlier will grace the cover of issue 188, so he's presumably going to be a big deal for the foreseeable future. Of course, the Claw is Daredevil's arch enemy from his Golden Age comic, so it's an interesting resurrection in terms of what that means for Daredevil.
And in fact, I love it that it keeps up the tradition of resurrection not being a way to trot out old characters. Resurrection, when I know that they were in the Project Born Again in the Graveyard and there was a resurrection confirmed, some people were like, oh, how's this different than, when they do it in mainstream comics? It's almost always got a twist in Savage Dragon, and this is a great twist.
Right. And I gotta say that Thunderhead, right? Is that his name? He's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters in Savage Dragon. He's just got a badass look, and I just feel for the guy. Now he's going to be some poor lackey to Claw.
He doesn't want to be.
Yeah, he just wants to leave. I mean, it looks like he gave the guy a bed and shelter, and he's like, all right, I'm out of here. You're all square. And no, the Claw's going to be an ass.
Nope, he's going to take over the world.
You work for me now. You do my bidding. Ungrateful bastard.
Jerk. The world is
only
mine.
Brought you back to life. No biggie.
He just came back, and he's already got plans for world domination. That's pretty quick. It's hard to believe a guy with boomerangs could kick a guy like this's ass.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see if he still has it in him. That is Savage Dragon 184.
We're going to save the Vanguard back up, right?
Yes, we are planning in the future to have Gary Carlson on our show. And we want to hold on to the final Vanguard story to talk to him about.
And Gary Carlson as the writer of a lot of the Vanguard issues. He did this latest serial. He's done Megaton. He's done Big Bang Comics. So we'll have a lot to talk to him about. So we can line that up. Seems like it's just trying to pick a date at this point, but it should be fun.
So we're going to talk about Vanguard as a whole and wrap it all up with this final episode when we talk to him. So something to look forward to in the near future. We do hope to have him on sooner rather than later. But speaking of interviews, we now have our interview with Michel Fiffe. So now let's introduce our latest guest, contributor and editor of Savage Dragon Funnies and writer-artist of creator-owned projects Zegas, COPRA, among others. We welcome Mike Fiffe. It's nice to have you on the show.
Welcome.
Oh, thanks a bunch. It's my pleasure.
So, Twisted Savage Dragon Funnies. Most of our listeners probably know you from that.
Cool, you guys read it, huh? You checked it out?
Love it.
Loved it. Yeah.
Awesome.
My favorite backup in a long while.
Yeah, it was great.
Actually, that was super fun to do.
Why don't we? I know we had talked about this earlier, but why don't we just talk a little bit? Let's roll it back before Twisted Savage Dragon Funnies and just talk about a little bit how you got involved in comics and meeting up with Erik and getting this to happen. I mean, this isn't the first published work that you've had. You've done stuff before. I know you've kind of worked with the Activate Collective and stuff like that. So can you just give us a little synopsis of how you got to the point at Twisted Savage Dragon Funnies?
Sure. I've done a bunch of comics before the Savage Dragon thing. small stuff in anthologies, self-published stuff, zines, minis, stuff like that. The usual trying to break in stuff, Mm-hmm. But I knew Erik through meeting him at conventions and through emails and stuff. Not so much through the message board, actually. I was kind of, I was never active on the board. I would just kind of read and hang back for years. But then, out of nowhere, I just got this idea, excuse me, to make, I was a big fan of, like, the Strange Tales series that Marvel put out, or, like, Bizarro stories, or any sort of indie-centric superhero thing. I was really a huge fan of that, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if Image had one, too? And I actually reached out to Joe Keating at first, because he was the editor of Popgun. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you did this? You're the editor. You know all these people. Maybe I'll get to do something, maybe. And he was kind of, he stopped editing at that point, and he just wanted to concentrate on writing. So then I kind of just mentioned it to Erik as a throwaway kind of, suggestion, and, who knows what he would say to that, but he wrote back, with his blessing, as if I were proposing the project. I was just kind of suggesting an idea, but I ran with it. I just called up every cartoonist I could that was willing to, like, draw a Savage Dragon story for me in a monthly schedule, and that's how it happened. Erik was cool enough to let it happen like that.
He was. I mean, how much involvement did he have in that? Was he just like, go with it, just let me see who's working on the stories, or was it just, Yeah,
at first I had to film on the people, just so it wouldn't look like, rough trade or anything. Mm-hmm. And then he named the thing, he gave it the title, and he kind of oversaw it very loosely. He just gave me, like, the ground rules, like no nudity, no swearing, or not too much swearing, no smoking was one of his things. Bare bones, kind of like no-brainers, and so I went forth, and he let me do whatever, so I don't know, I thought the results were really cool, month in, month out, it was a thrill to kind of see it on the stands in print, back to back with one of my favorite books, so.
A lot of the guys that you got to work on them are, superstars, at least in the indie world in their own right, or just, at least up and coming guys that, I was really happy to see, Yeah. Some of the contributors I wish I could see more work from, but sometimes they're not even doing comics. They just kind of went off and did their own artistic thing, and they'll come back in and do comics. But just for this one moment, for that 1 year, it was awesome to have, like, that specific collection of people, doing comics. And I know, I mean, I've read that at one point, and I didn't realize, but I owned a comic of yours. You did the flip side of Dean Haspiel's comic, the Billy Daw Image comic. I think it was, I looked through my long boxes, and I can't find it now, but I think it was like 3 or 4 issues, and you were doing the flip side.
That was a 3-issue mini called Brawl, that black and white mini that Image put out. And that was...
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I didn't even realize it was your work until preparing for this interview. I just wanted to, I went on the web just to see other stuff you've done. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remembered that half of the story. I mean, honestly, I bought it for Dean's work. And then,
those are bad.
What's that? They're bad?
Those are bad. You should burn those comics.
I totally didn't realize it was you, though, until, my memory was like, oh, yeah, I remember those. And I just remember really trippy kind of like face melting kind of stuff going on. And it was just funny that I totally, after, reading online, I remember that was your stuff.
Yeah, that was my old webcomic that was published maybe, I don't want to say a year, but close to a year after the fact. So to me, when it was published, it was a great opportunity. But to me, it was like old hat. I was already over that stuff. So it was kind of bittersweet that this was like a book with my name on it, and it's out in the world. But I was kind of feeling reluctant about the material itself, which later, I continued the story, and I felt more confident about it. But yeah, that was one of my earlier works, Brawl.
But with that, now, what's the deal with the Activate crew? Are you still part of that collective, or? that
not
still
really.
even
I
a
haven't done
thing, or-
webcomics in years.
Yeah.
Zegas started out there, but only for the first story. But
Right,
they're doing
right.
their own thing, and I'm not really part of that crew anymore.
Gotcha. But yeah, and I know that's where Zegas, that's your other creator-owned comic.
Yeah.
You have 2 published issues, and then you had the web comic. Is that right? That's
Right, and all the web stuff, I'm planning on printing it as a number 0 or something pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's not online anymore. So I'm going to put it into like the same format, make it a number 0. And yeah, Zegas is my self-published stuff, which, as I posted on the board and I told you guys about it, it couldn't be more different than Savage Dragon or any genre thing, It's just
Right.
kind of in my style. It's more of a slice of life, kind of weird, surreal, backdrop, psychedelic sort of, human stories,
Mm-hmm.
quieter stories,
Right.
but I was self-publishing it. So, it was indie, and I thought a few folks would like it. And that was like my decision to self-publish Zegas. Like I had that story and I had nowhere to put it. So I figured, why not just put it myself? Everyone's saying like, print is dying or it's dead or, no one cares about individual issues anymore. And I kind of ignore that, I absolutely ignore it actually. And I just went ahead and published it, small print run, and was really proud of it. And I'm still going to continue stories, but that sort of led to this current thing, the COPRA series. So self-publishing has become like a huge thing for me, and I thought I would never do it.
Yeah.
I just thought that's something I'm not interested in. I don't want to, run the business side of it at all. I just want to draw and write and create. But now it's kind of part of the process.
Gotcha.
And it's great,
Now, I'm curious. You mentioned that a lot of people don't see print as a viable future, but you decided to go that route. I'm curious how you funded going print, because I know it can be very expensive, especially for a low-run book.
Well, yeah, I had a day job, and I just saved up my money, pretty much. I mean, for the second issue, I ran a Kickstarter type thing. It was a Rocket Hub. Rocket Hub is kind of like this crowdfunding thing, platform. Right. And, I got enough money to print it, and print the incentives, like the T-shirts and prints, etc. And that's how I did that one issue.
Right.
The first issue, I had to save up a bunch. And while I was saving, I was making the comic, which took me close to a year. It took me forever.
Right.
Just to do everything. And that's part of why I was a little reluctant to go forward. I thought it was going to be a one-time thing. Like, I'll just self-publish this one issue. Who knows? It'll be like a limited super print thing. But then now it's like my forum. It's the way I put my work out in the world.
Yeah.
So that's how it does cost money, but for every sale of an issue, it just pays for the next.
Right.
So to speak.
Yeah. So you've got a pretty good, I guess, buffer going now, so that you can keep going into the future with new COPRA issues and new Zegas issues, and you don't got to do any more crowdfunding to keep it going.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, I think I'm pretty ahead in terms of funds, where that's the case.
Right.
I don't have to worry about like being late on an issue because I don't have enough funds. Like it's a good cycle. It's a good flow at the moment.
And you've been getting some pretty good buzz lately. I've seen CBR articles about you and your work.
Yeah, a couple of the writers were into COPRA, so I'm really excited about that. It's really cool.
Did you notice increased sales after that? I mean, I know I have issue 1 and 2 of COPRA, and it's the print run of 400, and then issue 3 it jumps up to 600. So I was pretty happy that, to see that you're at least printing more. It must mean you're selling more, or at least hopefully.
Yeah, I'm totally getting more orders. Took me by surprise. Great news. And these are like baby numbers, I mean, 600 is nothing. But to me, when I went from 400 to 600, that meant the world to me. That was like huge. To me, that's like sellout success, because that's the amount that I could handle. I mean, it's just me. I don't have a staff. I don't have an intern. So that's about what I could manage on top of making the actual comic. So right now I'm really happy with 600. You know, I don't know how it would be with 1,000 or 2,000, or I mean, I can't begin to think about those type of numbers. You know, just because I have so many other things to do. So for right now, it's like, as it stands, it's a very limited edition sort of. It's not exclusive. That's why I made the print run higher, just because I want these things out there. You know, I felt bad when the first one sold out, and I had to tell people to wait. You know,
right, for the other print. Yeah. So I want to talk more about COPRA, but since this is the FINcast, I do have a bunch of questions and want to pick your brain about the Twisted Savage Dragon Funnies, if you don't mind.
Of course, I could also talk about old Erik Larsen comics.
Well,
forever.
Definitely.
I'm actually curious how you became a fan of Savage Dragon.
Of Savage Dragon?
Yes.
Well, I was an Erik Larsen fan from back in Amazing Spider-Man.
As many.
That was like one of my first Spider-Man comics I ever bought, and I was instantly hooked. In fact, I preferred his art to McFarlane's back then, and still do.
Yeah, I was
just instantly hooked. I mean, I think there was a Punisher issue, and the Secret Six issues. Those blew my mind. Those were amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think I was at the perfect age when Image started. You know, there was like there was that buzz right before, like when he took over Spider-Man, writing and drawing it. When he went from Amazing to Spider-Man.
Right.
That was the hottest shit. I mean, I loved that stuff.
That
and so
issue
when he went to Savage Dragon, it was like, it was a done deal. Like, yeah, I followed just directly, you know. I just started buying Savage Dragon. And all Image books, you know, but honestly, the Savage Dragon was the only book that I kept buying because I actually liked it. I didn't feel like I should buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, did you guys go through that? Through the whole Image kind of like binge and purge?
Yeah, you know, but I felt the same way as you. I started off with Marvel, and it was something with Erik's work. He was the first artist that I followed because of the artist. You know, any book he was on, and basically it was Amazing Spider-Man. And I just remember I had me and my best friend, we would just, you know, couldn't wait for the next Amazing Spider-Man book to come out because we wanted to see what new character he was going to draw and how it was going to look in the Erik Larsen style. And I just remember my mind just being blown, especially when he took over the adjectiveless Spider-Man with the Beast story.
Yeah.
Something about the colors of that book, his art. You know, the story was such an awesome, like, quick one and done story, and it was just, you know, it was just so amazing. So I was like probably about this. I don't know how old you are, but I was probably when that issue came out. I want to say I was like maybe a freshman or sophomore in high school or something like that.
I was when that issue came out. I was probably still in junior high. What was it, 91?
Yeah, 91
I was probably like 12 or 13 or something. So I remember, I remember that issue. I think Gregory Wright colored that. I could be totally wrong about that.
Maybe. It was just amazing. But and like you're saying, the Amazing Spider-Man books, it was like he went through that run where, like, you know, a lot of the issues were kind of like one and done issues, even though they tied together a bigger storyline. And it was like I couldn't wait to see who was going to draw. It's like going to be, you know, when I found out there was going to be an issue full of Avengers, it was like, oh my God, Erik Larsen's going to draw all the Avengers. Like, I want to see this. I have to see this, you know, and it would blow my mind.
Right. Did you ever see those Marvel Comics Presents? Those three-part thing? That I caught that early on too, and that blew me away too. And then he wrote it. That was the thing. He was one of the only artists who wrote their own stuff that I ever saw. I mean, you know, I had read Frank Miller, John Byrne up to that point, Walt Simonson, but then there was Erik Larsen, you know, who was like newer, you know, to me. And that really inspired me to kind of move forward, you know, and do comics, you know, to be confident, like, well, I could write my own stories, no problem. And speaking of the Savage Dragon, there's this editorial in the back that he wrote. I think he writes about, you know, his old, you know, the way he used to draw comics as a kid, and then the fire that he went through and losing all his stuff in there. And I don't know, just stuff like that was really inspiring, just him going off about, like, his own personal views on making comics. And that was, I don't know, that really inspired me too, just to make them, you know, make them myself. So Savage Dragon was the perfect vehicle for that, you know. for him to do that and for me to kind of hop on and just enjoy it, forever. But of course, after the binging, there's the purging, and I got rid of all my Image comics. I got rid of all comics. I hated comics. I was so sick of them. I was just, all this money was just funneled into this fucking black hole of these comics that I just didn't like. I mean, no offense, I was buying like Brigade, thinking that, I'm going to like this, and then buying 2 copies of Bloodstrike or Shadowhawk or whatever. Again, I could look back now and appreciate those 100%. I did when I bought them, but when you're confronted with a big box of comics you don't like, and you're kind of growing out of them anyway, and you're discovering music and girls and stuff, it's like, get that stuff out of here, Savage Dragon was the first book that I came back to, and I continued, I would drop in.
What issue did you come back to? What did you leave at, and what did you come back to?
I left around right after the Jimbo issue, number 9, and then I came back around like in the 20s, so it was like a good maybe a year or so.
That's not too much of a
it wasn't too much. I mean, that's the curse. You have comics in you forever. You don't get rid of it, right?
Right.
I remember reading the things that brought me back was that, and Sin City and Milk and Cheese by Evan Dorkin, and those things were just like, all right, I'm back, done. And then of course discovering like things like Love and Rockets and just not mainstream comics.
Just a wide variety.
It seems you're much more into the whole counterculture comic scene as opposed to the mainstream.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I think I don't want to say half and half, but I think I like both kind of in equal parts. Actually, these days I'm probably more into like older mainstream stuff.
Right.
That's where I draw a lot of my inspiration from, just lesser known mainstream dudes.
As in like Marvel Bronze Age, that sort of era, 70s, early 80s.
Bronze Age, early 80s, late 80s. I like those guys a lot. But I do like a lot of indie stuff, or old alternative comics from the 80s and 90s. Those were a huge inspiration to me too. And I mixed it all up,
Yeah.
But I'm definitely on both camps. I feel like I could talk about both camps, pretty easily, or at least draw inspiration from and put into my own work. So I don't know, and I kind of see Larsen as, I mean, he's a mainstream artist, but I don't know, it's so quirky as it is right now, like in the face of everything else, that, whenever I think of his art, I just think of him as comics. It's neither or,
Right. The thing with Larsen, too, is he just sees himself as more of a cartoonist. He's not afraid to try different things, and he's not so worried about being a mainstream superhero title. If he wants it to be some kind of weird indie thing thrown in or some kind of golden age thing thrown in, he can do it, and he does. If he wants to go off on the side and do a 24-hour comic, he's a cartoonist, and I see him as more of a cartoonist than a guy who's just kind of drawing comics for a job,
Yeah, totally.
He really enjoys.
You guys talked about the Supreme issue, the latest one, or his last one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that thing was insane. I loved it.
So you loved it. See, I love it.
I love that damn run.
No, he's talking about
the one Eric
drew. The kind of a sketchy style.
Oh, the one he drew, the issue? Well, I love that damn issue, too.
Yeah, the one he drew was bonkers. I mean, that run was good, but when he inks himself, there's just something about it, especially in that loose style. And then the coloring was a little simpler, which I prefer, and I think it matches his artwork a little bit more, I think. Kind of like when he colored himself. Holy crap, that's the stuff. I love that stuff. And I know, Jim, you and I agree on that run where he started lettering himself. I think you and I are the only two that like it. I don't even think Eric likes it himself.
I think we might be the only two.
Yeah, I love that stuff, man. I remember, I would go in and out, but then once I hit 123 and I saw it on the shelves and I picked it up, it blew me away. That was when I was stuck for real,
Was that the Fly
issue?
Because
the Fly was 125. 123 was right before, and it had the really torn cover.
Right. Okay.
It looked. I forget. It was. I think they were in Washington or something.
Yeah, Dread Knight standing over him.
Yeah, Dread Knight. It had weird spreads and just odd panel layouts, and it was great. And it still held together. And there was a lot of risk taking. Really exciting stuff. And the writing was really sharp and funny. Like, it wasn't like, it didn't age, in a bad, embarrassing way. Like, some guys just keep writing in this weird way that, they're trying to be funny, they're trying to be clever, and it's just boring. But Erik just kind of nails it, And with that issue, it was perfect. And then I was stuck. And then The Fly came out, the 125, the one you mentioned, and that was perfection, I mean, that was a big chunk of book. That was great. I loved it.
Right.
And and it wasn't shortly after that, I started being more involved in, like, the forums and talking to him, so that was fun.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's not afraid to try things. It's like he just doesn't give a crap. He's going to do it. He's not afraid of what people are going to say. I think that's awesome. You don't see that much. You don't see, I mean, what other image founder or image guys have tried all these different types of things in their comics, other than just making a straight ahead superhero comic. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if like Jim Lee tried to experiment like that, or Silvestri or something like that.
Comic
you don't see that.
Arms.
Right. Yeah. I think Lee's probably the next in line to experiment the most. I mean, he did some watercolor stuff for Hush, and he did Deathblow, trying to do his Miller thing,
Yeah, but I'm thinking, more in terms of, Larsen's more into the cartooning and comical side and having fun and trying different experiments like that. I mean, Jim Lee's always kind of a straight ahead type guy. It's very serious kind of way of approaching things. At least that's the way it seems to me. You're not going to see characters that look cartoony.
Right. They're from two different camps almost.
Yeah.
But I think Erik, he has no choice but to be himself. He's going to move forward no matter what. He doesn't care, and that's part of the charm of that. And the appeal of that to me is that he's, this savage world, it's going to happen whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
And it did. And then I'm going to bring it all back. And then I'm going to take it away. And then I'm going to bring it back kind of for half an issue, maybe for a couple of panels. It's insane. Sometimes it's hard to follow, but it's really compelling. And I love that. And he changes the art from one issue to the next, or with an issue where, the clear line style to really heavy, shaded issue. I love that kind of stuff. I'm a super nerd for that kind of stuff. But he does it in the service of cool stories with cool characters and characters you kind of care about. And it's kind of like I said this before to someone trying to describe the title, but it's kind of like his fever dream comic. He's just kind of doing this in this mad monthly rush. Like, he's just kind of getting it done. He doesn't really care. I mean, he does care. That's not to undermine, his level of craft or anything. But it's just like he's going to put it out no matter what.
Yeah,
And there's something really cool about that.
You just kind of constantly move forward and just keep going.
Yeah. I mean, there's things to consider and stuff. Like he's right now considering the next big plot shift for 200 or the next big event. But yeah, he's going to move forward, man. He doesn't care. He's just going to do it.
Right. Now,
so anyway, I'm inspired by that. I mean, I picked up on that early on, and that's awesome.
So like when you were trying to put together the Savage Dragon Funnies and getting guys on board, I mean, what's your consensus of the artists and creators out there when it comes to Savage Dragon? I mean, we know Savage Dragon's not the hottest seller out there, and it's amazing to me that there aren't more people picking up this book. But you always hear, or at least I hear a lot of pros. We were inspired by Larsen. His stuff's great. When you were trying to get creators to do the Twisted Dragon Funnies, what kind of responses were you getting when you were saying you wanted to do a Savage Dragon version of
Strange Tales.
Strange Tales.
You mean from the creators I asked?
Yeah. I mean, were people like, why are you doing what's up with Dragon? Or were people like
were they
super
even aware of the character?
Yeah. Were they?
Are they still making that book?
No, not so much. I mean, maybe some were surprised that I was even working on this thing because it was such an odd project for me to tackle. I had never edited or wrangled people before to do something. So they were all pretty enthusiastic. I mean, I asked people, that I liked and respected. People whose comics I actually liked. It was never like, I think he'll be good for the book, or I feel like I should because he's kind of my friend, but I kind of don't like his stuff, but he should be in it. It was never like that. I like everyone in that book. And I felt confident that Erik would like it, or at least, see enough hope in there to let it run. Once the story was complete, colored, lettered, and the creators themselves, half of them were aware of the book, and some of them have read it, have been reading it. Others haven't read it in years. They just dropped off. A few only know the character based on the cartoon. Funnily enough.
That's true too. It's funny because you can kind of tell. It's almost like you said, like half of the comics. My favorite ones, at least, and there's about half of them, are the ones that reference other characters in the book, where you can tell either the writer or the artist, or or if they did both, they knew the comic. I forget who did like the angel story where it's her and Glum kind of like hanging out and just trying to survive. Who is that artist?
I like the
Cat
one.
Roberts.
I like the one with
Cat Roberts.
What's that, Jim?
I like the one with Universo. It got weird.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love the Greaser Savage Dragon.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And, what's the one with the Vicious Circle? The one by Jason Lex and Jim Rugg. That's just the designs of those characters are just amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did awesome on those characters. I mean, they were like born to draw those characters. I mean, that's the thing. The first tier of creators were the backups.
Yeah.
And they were like newer cartoonists. And some of them, some of them knew the book, some of them didn't. But then for the next tier, for the actual book, just to fill out the book a little bit, make it like a good, solid thing, all those guys knew pretty much the Savage Dragon. They loved it. Jason Lex and Jim Rugg loved all those comics. I mean, we geeked out over those issues. And, I think it was the early 20s, when he fights Overlord, when he defeats Overlord. Sorry, spoilers. But we talked about it, and I'm like, oh, these guys dig it. They know what I'm going for. Same thing with Ben Mara, the guy who does Night Business.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just a connection with this character and this world, and it just made sense. The whole project made sense. It wasn't as like shticky as it could be or could be seen. I think it was a real natural fit. And I wish it could be something that could be ongoing or that other people would do.
Right.
Actually, I wanted to mention that when I told this to Joe Keating about Image, it was for all the Image characters, and he said that would be a legal nightmare. And so I thought, and it's true. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see like an indie Youngblood or whatever Shadowhawk, and then in a sense that's happened already. But, with the new Extreme relaunch. But I thought, okay, well, Erik is like the one book. Erik has the one book that I really respond to. Let's just concentrate on that book and see if I could make it happen, if it had enough legs to carry it, and it did. I mean, he has tons of awesome-looking characters. You don't even need to read the book to know that they're all great. They all look really cool.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing, too. And I mentioned this, I think, around this time that Twisted Savage Dragon Funnies trade came out, and we talked about it, I think, a little bit, was that, you can just – Erik's designs are so cool, and it really stands out when someone else draws them. Like I was saying, like the Lex and Rugg strip with the Vicious Circle. And, I mean, they kept all of Erik's designs for the characters and just drew them, it's just drawn in their style. And it's just you really look at the costumes and like, wow, these costumes are cool. I mean, they're a little 90s-ish in some stuff, but that's the way supervillains like. It's just it's not like today where everyone's just got to dress in plain clothes or something like that. I mean, these are like real cool villain costumes. Like just great design work on some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, Barbaric, that guy, that's a pretty 90s look.
Yeah. Cutthroat.
Pure 90s. But then, like, Mighty Man's pretty classic. You know,
Right.
he's like a take on Captain Marvel. Super Patriot's kind of cool looking.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, so it could go from like the really cool to the ridiculous, but it always works. Most of the time,
Right.
it mostly works. You know,
Right.
and
right.
also it's in his style that it works. Sometimes you see these characters drawn by other people, it doesn't really quite work. Even the dragon himself, you know. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
look at all the minis that have happened, you know, all
Mhm.
throughout the years, and it just really takes like Erik Larsen's, like the way he draws like a chin or lip, like that's what nails a character, specifically someone like Savage Dragon, you know.
Right.
And it's hard to replicate that, man. I mean, he's got it. That's his comic, you know. That's his stamp. His style is his stamp, you know.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you
Yeah,
definitely
I kinda
have a
like the
point
book,
there.
you know.
There's been some cases where other people have drawn his characters, and there's just something off about it. And it's not that it looks bad; it's just something off.
There's something off, and they could even read the book and know the book, but there's just something off, you know. I really don't know how else to describe it, or even to who to compare it to, because you know, you draw Spider-Man or even the Hulk, and you know, there's a few variations, or something as iconic as like the Batman or something. You know, Savage Dragon is pretty iconic, but it relies so much on Erik Larsen's style. You know,
Definitely.
so it's just, yeah, it's totally weird when someone else draws him. I know when I drew him, I tried being faithful to that, but still having my own style. So I was very aware of that, you know.
Right.
Even though my style is nothing like, at least back then, it was nothing like Larsen. I think these days I'm incorporating a little bit more of my Larsen influence, at least in action or, you know, in panel breakdowns and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
And that might be a good segue here. Do you want to spend some time talking about your current work, COPRA?
Please do.
Zegas?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mentioned Zegas, and I will continue to do that, but now COPRA is my monthly comic book. I'm writing, drawing, coloring, producing the whole thing, 24 pages a month, and I feel so excited in doing this. Like, it was, at first it started when I did that Suicide Squad fan comic, you know. That was kind of right after I finished Zegas. I needed something totally different, a little looser, something a little less self-conscious. And so, and totally unofficial. I mean, these are DC characters, you know.
And you're referencing your Death Zone comic that you put together.
Yeah, my Death Zone, right. That was, the fan comic I was talking about. And, you know, instead of doing, like, a bunch of pinups or some, like, throwing together sketches, I just wanted to make a comic book. Just tell a story, but then make it fun like those old comics I used to read.
Right,
you know,
right.
nothing of consequence. You know, this is just going to be in. I don't have to explain anything. I'm just going to do it. People may like it. People may not like it. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to print it. Like, let's see what happens. And it did well. People responded to it. And, you know, people apparently liked Suicide Squad. And so they reacted well. They liked it. They got what I was getting, you know.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Thanks. That led to COPRA because I wanted to produce something on a pretty steady level.
Yeah,
with a
it
good
feels
schedule.
it feels like your version of Suicide Squad almost.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, that's like the basic blueprint. It's just sort of like Dirty Dozen, renegade misfits on the run. It's a revenge story. It's got, you know, crazy looking characters. It's my excuse to draw fight scenes and explosions without apology, you know. I needed to tell a story like that because the writing actually takes me the longest and Zegas took me forever. So in the middle of the script for my next issue, I was like, I need to do something quick, and I needed to have like this sort of like raw, visceral feel to it, you know, like I just can't think about it. I just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this monthly schedule is perfect for that, just to get it done. I have to get it done.
No,
you know? Now that I have subscribers, I have to get it done. I mean,
yeah, right.
I put my word out, but now it's like I have to deliver an item every month, and I haven't frozen. I'm not gonna freeze. It's great. It's almost liberating in a way. It's like I don't even see how I could go back to working slowly. It's the best thing.
Yeah, I mean it's a real vicious comic too. I mean I reread the first 3 issues, and I think you introduced like 18 characters within the first 3 issues, and it's amazing. It doesn't feel overwhelming, but it's like, wow, you got these teams of good guys and bad guys, and there's a bunch of stuff going on, and it's so much bang for your buck. Tons of action, and there's a ton of stuff going on. But it was like I was counting, like, how many characters are named, and it's like 18 guys. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Creating all those guys was, awesome. I didn't believe it was going to happen until like I saw the boxes show up at my doorstep and issue number 1 was there. Up until then, it was just kind of like a thing I might do. Maybe I'll do it like every once in a while. But I committed to the monthly thing, and I'm not looking back. It's awesome. It's also good to hear that you got a lot of bang for your buck too, because that's another concern of mine. I want to make this because it is in print. And people are going out of their way to buy it, and they have to sign on to Etsy and buy it there or through a store. Just the simple fact that they're purchasing it. That's awesome. That's great. I value that so much.
It's a beautiful comic.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I also don't want it to feel thin, though, because I feel like I could just concentrate on drawing something, beautiful or whatever, and have that be enough, Just like reading, I've been reading the old Todd McFarlane stuff, the Spider-Man, like just to kind of study or revisit. I know this comics inside and out, but just to see how he did it, how he juggled all those things. And I think he colored one of the issues too on a consistent basis for years, starting from like the Hulk, to Spider-Man, to Spawn, until he stopped drawing Spawn pretty much. Just consistent, the level of quality was pretty solid.
Yeah, right.
And it's just impressive. But those stories are a little thin, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
Like especially the Spidey ones, man. You could really condense that into 2 issues, and they look great.
Yeah.
So pacing-wise, it's good, and the splashes are beautiful. But it's a little thin, so I'm personally worried about that. So I try to jam-pack the thing without it being too clogged, especially with so many characters. You're right. I introduced a bunch of them.
But it feels like, what it feels like? It feels like almost from that same school like Brandon Graham, where I read Copra and it feels like this isn't a universe where there's other comics out there and this stuff's existed, and you just feel like this has been going on and you're kind of jumping into it and learning as you go. You're referencing different guys here and there, and it's like, oh, I should know this guy, or but it doesn't feel overwhelming, and actually it's a book I find I read once and then I read it again, and I caught things that I either missed on first read or whatever. So it's definitely like something you can reread and get even more enjoyment out the second time around.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear.
I have to confess, I have not read Copra yet, but the more I look into it, the more it seems like it would be my favorite book of all time, and I really should probably.
Jim, the only time you're going to read Copra is when it goes digital, man.
Yeah.
I know you've given up on print. That's okay.
Blasphemer.
You've burned all your books, and that's cool. You have an eye toward the future. I'm still like a Neanderthal playing with rocks and blood. That's okay.
I'll tell you something, though. You're making me want to reverse my trend.
Well, the thing is, I understand digital content, absolutely. I'm not putting that down. It looks fine. I could read longer works on certain computers, not all. That's a real it's a real difficulty for me, to sit through like hundreds of pages on a screen. I already stare enough at a screen
I completely understand
to color these things half the time. But print, man, I don't know. I don't want to force people to love my nostalgia. I love old comics. I love newsprint. I love everything about them. And I love feeling them. I love a book, But I think these days, because print is so whatever, it's such an afterthought, It has to be made that much more special, and that's why I try to have good paper stock and
the thick stock.
have them be numbered, signed and numbered.
Yeah,
This Copra is numbered, just have like the back covers kind of connect in a weird way in an image that you probably won't get anywhere else. Just something cool and different, you know?
I was going to say that too. It's funny that you mentioned. I was going to actually just mention that. The other thing about the printed book, and I just noticed after like my third reread, I was reading number 3 again, and I looked at the back of number 3, and you got 2 characters. You got the Castillo character and I guess the George character, who only appeared for like, a few panels, I think in issue 2 or maybe issue 3. Yeah. And I'm like,
he's going to be a big character.
It didn't even occur to me that these back covers all joined into one image, and I'm looking at the back cover, and I always thought they were just kind of just recapping something that happened in the book, and I'm like, that character didn't show up in issue 3 at all. I'm like, why is he on the back cover? It's kind of weird. And then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all of a sudden it just clicked in my head, oh, these back covers all join together. So I pulled them all out and laid them down, and I'm like, oh man, this thing's gonna be awesome once it's completely filled, and you're gonna see the whole team, I'm assuming. Right there.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing. It's something I just thought it was a cool little Easter egg
well, it's
kind of
certainly
thing.
an experience you can't really
it's just
get
like
from
a little
digital.
thing.
Right.
Well,
right. Yeah.
The thing about digital too is like, now you could counterpoint all this to digital, and it's not like I'm saying this against digital or anything.
Right.
But when I think of like a comic and a flip, like the staples in the middle, all that goes into account. It's not arbitrary. It's just sort of like I design the stories and the page turns and the flow and the center spreads and a double page spread and the first page, and everything has a purpose, and it was there for a reason. And digital, you could have all that, but it's just slightly different. And I think the advantage that you cited before, where you could like zoom in, I don't want to get too lofty about this, but I don't think we should be able to do that. Like it's cool, and yeah, we should, sure, let's do that. But maybe the artist didn't want you to zoom in on something. Maybe you're supposed to see it at that specific ratio, and I think that's important. And I love huge books. If I wanted my work to be presented that way, I would print it that way, or super small mini comics. I also think you should have the freedom to zoom in on that guy's head stuck in that guy's ass in that Supreme comic. I think, hey, we're all American, right?
We love a head and an ass.
But for me, I just feel like that's the appeal of a comic book, of a thing with a spine and staples. Not even a graphic novel, man. I'm just talking about a comic with like a letters page and a cover and just something that's more direct and like personal. Like you're talking to me through this comic. You know what I mean? Like you're getting it from me. Like that's as direct of a connection as you're going to get. There's no distributor. Sometimes there's not even a retailer involved. You could call me up. You could email me. I try to be on top of it, and that's all part of that experience. And I don't know if that's the future. I'm not concerned with that. I just want to do this now because it's working for me now, and it's exciting for me to do it. To be involved in that sort of thing. Digital will have to wait. Like I'm not saying no to that. I'm not closing the doors. Maybe after the first 12 issues are done, I'm gonna give it a shot. And have that ready for like the next 12 issues. Who knows? I don't know. But like this month, like this week, I'm just worried about getting the next issue done. That's no joke. I just want to get this thing out the door. And that's it, But one day, Jim, I promise it's going to be digital. But I have copies if you want.
I'm thinking about it seriously. I just got to get $15 together.
I wanted to, before we jump too far off that topic, just like praise you again for, you've touched on it, Jim has too, even Craig, but like when I got my copies of Zegas, because I got that, I haven't had money for COPRA, but I'm like all over it as soon as I get some cash. But when Zegas came, it was oversized, which I wasn't expecting. And I mean, just being an oversized book is just like, it's bigger than an iPad. Already you're getting that like oversized like presentation, already just there, there's one thing it's got. And then really like one of the strengths you have that I really am like excited to see people paying attention to you, because I was just like, man, this is an artist that if more people cared about layout for a page or even a double page spread the way that you do, there would be no question that there was still a lot of strength in when you flip the page, you see the overall layout, like all at once, just the, way that the panels work together, repeating visual themes and stuff. I got a Mark Waid digital comic where it was like...
what is it, Thrillbent?
I want to say it was maybe distributed through Thrillbent. It was Luther? Was it Luther? It was about the zombie janitor guys.
That one. Yeah, Luther.
Oh,
I don't think...
I remember that.
Yeah, Mark Waid didn't write that, but that came through his Thrillbent thing.
Came through Thrillbent.
Yeah.
Well, Luther was cool. I liked what I was seeing. It had some cool flipbook style transitions, but it didn't feel like, oh man, this is the future. This is what we've been waiting for. To me,
Right.
it felt like I was really missing the, layout, like the artistry of, because it's a comics kind of a skill that comes, it's really comic centric. I can't even think outside of graphic design too much stuff where an overall layout really matters the way it does in comics. And
Right.
I missed that, reading that Mark Waid thing. I was like, man, and that's what I'm saying is your work really just like works the hell out of a layout. It's awesome, That's it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think just comics, like, they're working with so many limitations, so you got to use every advantage you have. Even as simple as, like, a simple thing as, like, sound effects, that could go such a long way. Now, a silent comic or no thought balloons and all captions, whatever, every decision is important, and it could inform the work, ultimately, but I think you got to use everything you can, and I think a layout is so important. Even if it's just a grid, it could be a solid, like, standard 9-panel grid. Like, you could be Keith Giffen and just do grids for the rest of your life, and that's fine. That's his statement, and hopefully he uses it to great effect. And not Keith Giffen. I should have said Alan Moore, right? He uses that more.
He's
Should have said Steve Ditko.
crazy on the grid.
Ditko owned it. Ditko, Kurtzman, let's go way back. Kurtzman owned it. Sorry, I could talk about grids all day too.
It's all good.
Right.
Yeah, but digital, I mean, there's some exciting stuff out there that's really cool, and it's digital, and I think it maybe works better digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, I just posted that thing about Tom Scioli, the Satan Soldier.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that thing's beautiful. Those colors I don't think will pop as much as they do if they were on paper.
Yeah, it's just so spontaneous, and just to get a new page a day, I mean, you can't do that with print. You can't just print one page and mail it out. It's kind of neat to be like, oh, here's a new page, and I think it worked well with that comic,
It's a different platform, and I think comics could coexist, but I think the trouble that comics have to look forward to is just selling the thing, making enough money to pay for themselves, I think Marvel and DC now, I could be wrong, but it's just the other stuff that's making the money, the huge corporations that kind of fund these things, these huge machines, to just kind of let this little leg of print run just because, I guess, they're just IP farms. I mean, they're more than that to us, but you know what I mean. Like,
right.
In the world of
totally
finance,
right.
that's important. So I think image is a little different. I think, independent creators are way different. People in the small press, there's micro publishers, are just printing their own stuff in their living rooms. You can't get more direct than that. It's exciting, man. And there's people doing really cool shit, like really innovative stuff. And forgive me for cursing so often. I know this is a family show, but I just can't help it. I get
Yeah, all the
excited.
families that listen to us.
Our moms listen to it. That's what you mean. Just kidding. Mine doesn't.
Yeah, no one watches the show.
So yeah, that's the thing. I guess you could also, another connection to the Dragon is that that's, I introduce a bunch of characters, I kill some of them off. It's not really real time, but whatever.
Right. And I know you were saying, like,
I'm questing right here.
I know you were saying some of your layouts, like, even you feel like you're getting influenced by some Larsen stuff, and I even kind of caught that on 3. There's like a panel where I think Wur is just like beating the crap out of that alien, whatever, odd dimension guy, he's got his fist.
That was like my version of the mindless one.
Yeah, and just a couple of those panels really I kind of see the either the Larsen influence or just even like I just see some Erik Larsen in there, like just you could tell, the way the hand is. I mean, other artists have done it and stuff, but since you mentioned you're getting some of that influence, you see some of it on the fight scenes, which is pretty cool.
Well, first off, I gotta say, like, whenever I post anything online or anything related to Savage Dragon, it has to be related to Savage Dragon somehow. I feel funny if it isn't, and other people can do it, I don't care, but personally, especially if I'm talking about my own work or if I'm posting about somebody else, I'll try to connect it somehow to, like, Erik Larsen, And so when I did this, I think the connection I drew from it is that I'm inspired by his work. I don't know if Savage Dragon fans specifically will like COPRA, but I think some of them will. I think there are elements that would appeal to them. And Definitely. As far as art styles go, I mean, it's a range of things. I think I like Larsen. I think he comes from a school of Walt Simonson. I think there's a lot of Walt Simonson in there. And Walt Simonson is one of my top 3 favorite comic book artists. Like, he's insane. It's insane how awesome he is, and it's really difficult for me to not swipe from him. Just because that's in my memory, it's in my DNA. I can't get rid of those images. Him, Steve Ditko, and Jaime Hernandez. Those are the 3 big, strong influences.
I was going to say Ditko, too, especially, I mean, with that character you have in there, Vin, who's kind of like a Doctor Strange type character, even kind of resembles him a little bit, but even just, like, blows my mind whenever you do, like, these trippy, like, magic scenes with, like, Vin is, Vincent, I guess, is, got these, like, crazy panels and geometric shapes flying out of his hands, and it's, it's very Ditko-ish, but it's very your style. I mean, it's amazing and it's cool. There's a lot of trippy, weird things going on in this. Like, what's the one guy that's having a parade? He's like Count Compoda. Is that who? Oh it was?
Count
his
Compoda.
Eyes kind of
right.
Yeah, his eyes kind of spin. He looks like he's getting a little pissed off. His like mask glows and his eyes do this weird spin thing, and it's like, wow, it's just kind of neat and trippy. It's like, I want to know more about this guy, But
there's plenty of stories left with those dudes. Yeah, that's the fun thing about doing a team. What? Go on.
No, I was just gonna say it's just these things that you can only do in the comics medium that work like that. That kind of cool. Like, it just wouldn't look maybe in a movie or something like that, but it just looks damn cool in comics. Like I was saying, like, Vincent with his magic spells and the weird grids coming out of his hands, and it's a perfect medium for this kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I also think that making it monthly is part of the important part, between the dialogue of of the readers and I. I think it needs to be kind of immediate and feel like, kind of like feverish in a way. Where I just had to I got it off the boards into your hands, guys. I felt like that was important because some comics have that feeling, and man, you can't get that from anywhere else. I mean, unless you see a play maybe or a band or something, but those mediums aren't comparable. Comics is comics. Maybe you get that from an article that you just read that someone just blogged about, but that's different. I mean, I feel like I'm splitting hairs now with this stuff, but
no, we totally understand. We've talked about, like, comics, the strength of the medium, and how a really good comic, Alan Moore is kind of going, that's like his whole thing is to write comics that don't translate into film.
Right. Right.
Why he's catching a lot of flack, but a good comic that is a comic, that's kind of what you do.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so weird. I was going to say I'm an Alan Moore apologist. I'm not at all. That guy doesn't need me to apologize for shit. That guy's a genius. That guy's great. He knows how to write a comic book better than anyone, Like, he knows the structure of a comic. Sure, whether you could have, you could have trouble with, like, his stories or whatever, his themes, or, I think John Byrne once said that he's never created anything in his life. It's all just riffs on something, whatever. It's all horseshit, right? The guy's awesome.
Right.
Alan Moore's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he knows that when he's writing a comic book, it's a comic book, and sure, he's going to load the text like a 45-page script for 2 panels. I don't care. It's an awesome page, man. It's awesome, you know?
Right.
And he writes it with heart, you know? Like, who else could say that? Even his imitators, you know? It's like that's
Right.
why they don't reach that level, because he did it with heart, and he does it. You know, he still does it, you know? That guy doesn't ever have to write comic books in his life, but he still does it because he loves it, you know?
Definitely.
I got to ask
Hey, we
you
all
real
love
quick,
comics, man.
before we jump off anything else, I'm looking at your pages. One of the other things I really love is that, like, natural media? Like, you're not photoshopping this?
It's a mix. It's a mix of stuff,
Okay.
so I don't know what you're looking at. If it's anything super flat and it's a large space, like, say, the covers, all the backdrops on the covers are flat color.
Right. I'm looking at COPRA, and I'm looking at, like, just sort of the way it almost looks like colored pencil. I don't know, Conte crayon, something. Texture.
It's mostly color pencils
Okay.
and some watercolor and some paint and lots of pencil. Like, I shade with pencil and stuff, and I add little details. And the way I work is on the board. I work 10 by 16,
Mhm.
and then I shrink it. You know, I scale it down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I do everything on the boards. I letter on the boards. I pencil really loosely, so I mostly draw when I ink, and I color on the boards. So the originals are colored mostly, but then I fill in some, spots here and there.
How long
You
does
know,
it take you to make one of these issues? I mean, is it taking you almost like the whole month? Like, are you like right at the line, like right at the end of the, the month before you're getting this out?
Yeah. It takes me a month, but it's also not only making it, but I also have to manage
together.
the printer and just do the online stuff and manage the Etsy store and fulfill orders and stuff envelopes and do all that stuff, you know.
I
And then
mean,
when
you're
the subscribers
lettering
started
all
coming in-
these. You color, pencil, ink, letter. I mean, you're doing everything, right? I mean,
Yes, yeah.
man,
That
it's
is
amazing
fantastic.
to me that. I mean, and some like we're talking about the layouts and how intense they are, and like I was saying with the scenes with like the magic being used or whatever with all the grids. It's like I can't imagine getting this all out in a month by yourself and doing all the background kind of administrative, mailing everything out and stuff. I mean, you
And
afraid you're gonna burn out from doing this, or?
I was going to just throw in there real quick on the craft thing. I mean, don't lose the burnout thing, because I'm definitely thinking that. But, like, hand lettering, my hand cramps so
Yeah.
bad if I try it. I had to quit years ago. But it looks
Oh my
great.
God, really?
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm looking at your pages, and I love the hand lettering.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, I'm going to burn out, man. I'm going to burn out tonight, I think. It's over. Fuck comics. No, I mean, it's manageable. It was a little daunting at first, but it's not, man. I mean, you just gotta, it's all about scheduling, just sitting down and getting through it and cutting corners. And not in a bad way. I don't mean like bad shortcuts, like an all silhouette issue or something like that,
Right.
Or like, that like an all white issue like that old Alpha Flight comic, nothing like that. But it's just about, just being confident in your decision, not being precious about it, which I was super precious about everything in Zegas.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I write the script longhand, and then I just kind of letter it, and I edit it as I go along. And I don't do layouts until the last minute, and then I pencil it loosely, and then I just draw it. And half those layouts I just kind of come up with that morning,
Yeah.
And as it is, I just, I kind of draw 3 to 4 pages a day, from pencils to inks.
Wow.
And it bounces out. If it's a page that
Awesome.
demands a lot of detail, I just concentrate on that, and maybe I'll do 1 more page that day. If it's a pretty simple page, I could cram maybe 5 into it, if I don't want to eat that day. I'll just cram it out. I'll just sit and do it and not go online, not mess around, not take breaks, just kind of sit there and do it. And thankfully, I like what I do. Otherwise, if I was drawing somebody else's story for no money, I'd be like, what am I doing with my life, man? Breaking my back for this stuff? But I love that this is my stuff. This is my comic, So, of course I'm going to do that. Of course I'm going to put in extra hours for this stuff,
Right.
I mean, luckily, my schedule is good at the home, It doesn't drive anyone crazy, Like, I'm up all night drawing, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be a rough week of just me, like, cabin fever, like, insane. Like, oh, here's the issue,
Yeah.
But I think the results are worth it. I think it's a cool thing.
Definitely.
And I'm glad you guys think so, too. Or two of you, at least. I won't say which is the other one.
Do you have a planned ending? Like, do you I'm going to do 12 issues and take a break, or is this I'm just going to keep going and see where it takes me?
I want to do 12. There is an ending,
Okay.
But I don't want to say open-ended, but I could continue if I want to, and I think I want to. Because the more I write these characters, the more I want to tell stories with them, and just dedicate entire issues to just one character, I would love to do that. And I don't think I could do that, with the real estate of 12 issues. I'm also thinking about trades, man. I don't know. I mean, I hope it's collected, or maybe not. Maybe they're only going to live in issue form. So, because I'm not really thinking about all of it at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it's all collected, hopefully it'll be a good read, and I want there to be closure, but I kind of want there to be more, I don't know how much more. It could be 3 more issues, or it could be another 12, or it could be another, who knows. We'll see what the mileage is on that.
Do as much as you can, man. I mean, no shit. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at just looking at your stuff. I don't know. I'm a nerd for it. It's the craftsmanship. It's the layouts. We need as much from you as we can.
You're too kind, Raven Perez.
I
too
am.
Kind.
But it's okay. You've earned it, so it's not really too kind. I want to see, but I wanted 20 years later when you're doing COPRA 200 and you're all tired and hate life. I want to be here's to the next 200.
I'll probably be asking you guys for plot ideas to see what the next big event I could do is, if I'm lucky.
Bring back Jimbo the Mighty Lobster.
Yeah. Dude, I'll do that. I'll do my bootleg version of Jimbo. Man, it's too bad. Did that guy die? One of you guys said he died or something.
We looked it up, and it seemed like he may have passed away. Can't confirm it, but some of those searches where if you pay us $100 more, we'll give you all the information kind of deal. But from what we could glean, or I could glean, was it seems like he may have passed away.
I just feel, that would be unfortunate. That's sad and weird, and you know, just that he has this history with readers. But I was thinking, man, Erik could just do it anyway. Who's gonna notice? Especially if the guy's so difficult to track down. He's not reading comics. He's not in the game anymore. He used to be a reader. He cranked out a character when he was 9 years old, and it was over. That's it. He probably didn't even see the finished product.
For listeners who don't know, we're talking about the creator of Jimbo the Mighty Lobster. What issue was that? 9 or?
That was 9.
Yeah, where Erik did the contest, and so we've never heard from this guy again after his character won. And it's a lot of people always request from Erik, to bring Jimbo back, and he's like, sorry, don't own him.
What's weird is just like that USA cartoon, Jimbo seems to be one of those memories that people bring up if they've not read the book in a long time.
Yeah. It wasn't that great of a character. Come on, guys. Be honest.
No, not really.
Not really.
It was like a Popeye lobster.
Exactly.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
With a dirty mouth.
I think he looks cool, but come on.
Yeah.
But that'd be awesome if you brought him back. If Erik just said, fuck it. Or just tweaked it a little bit,
It's sad
Maybe
that
amputated one of his arms.
It's sad that his creator being dead is the only explanation that makes sense. If that is the case, it's the only reason this guy has been silent for years.
Yeah, we are clearly Erik Larsen comics readers. That's the most romantic conclusion, is that he's dead, and we hope he's dead because that's kind of cool. Yeah. We've seen Dart with her head blown off by a fucking fist with a shark head. A guy who has a head for... Oh, well, you get it.
Yeah.
This is real inside baseball right here. Jesus.
Oh, man.
Oh, that contest? Man, I was in that contest. I submitted many crappy characters to that contest.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they were promptly thrown away with the rest of the garbage submissions. But, man, I remember doing, inspired by the rush of Savage Dragon characters, like, all at once, I was like, I'm going to create my own roster of heroes. And I did, like, 9 huge drawings of, like, crap characters that I made up, like, the night before, thinking that, like, in this Jack Kirby thing, I never heard back from them. And I shouldn't, I should have kept them. I think I sent originals because I was stupid.
It would have been nice to see you post them on your
Put
website.
bring all back to COPRA.
Oh, my God. If I could remember them. They're so memorable. Jim.
Can you even remember one right now?
No, I know one of them had a skirt because he was supposed to be like a god or something. Maybe someone had a bow like Donatello from the Ninja Turtles. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to think about it.
It's funny.
It's my fault. I brought up this memory.
I think that was such a headache for Erik Larsen to do that too. I remember in the Josh Eichhorn interview where it's like Josh was just was talking about how everyone sent their characters in and tied them in with Dragon's history, and it's like, what are you thinking? Your character, you know what I mean? Like, don't tie them in with, the Dragon history or something.
Like his
that
brother.
Was pretty. That was dumb. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure that Josh Eichhorn touched my comics, touched my artwork, and ripped it up. I'm pretty sure. I have this feeling in my gut.
He might have drooled on it.
Yeah, that's right.
I hope I get Josh to read COPRA. I hope COPRA is the comic that brings him back into comics, man. That's
right.
I'm going to have to hit him up.
So,
but
I mean,
anyway.
we talked a lot about COPRA, but just for our listeners who, after listening to this, I mean, I can't see why you wouldn't run out and go buy it, but Michel's website is it's just your name. It's Michel Fiffe, MichelFiffe.com. So
right.
I urge you guys to run and go hit up the website, and from the website you can buy his COPRA comics and Zegas, I believe, right? And
yep. They don't even have to run. They could just click and they could just buy it, and it's done. So it's an Etsy store, actually. It's a shared Etsy site that I share with Kat Roberts, of the aforementioned Glum Angel story. And she sold stuff there too, like prints and handmade necklaces and stuff. So if you want to get your girlfriends any gifts, feel free. That's the cool thing about Etsy too. It's like a different readership almost. It's just a new pool of customers. Not to see them as customers, but people that are gonna discover your work and come back to it, revisit it, and really enjoy it. So that's been really cool. But I mean, signing up for Etsy, it's just like signing on for like Amazon or something. It's like another thing you have an account for. So it's not that big of a deal. It's free to join, and you can just just browse, just check it out. Or if I see you at a convention, just stop on by. It'd be awesome to meet anyone of you guys.
Yeah.
Do you
and
have
on your website?
Do you have any conventions coming up?
The only one I was going to go to Stumptown. I can't do it this year, unfortunately. That's one in Portland, but I do suggest that show to anyone that lives in the area. That's Stumptown in Portland, Oregon. But the one I am going to is Mocha, and that's here in Brooklyn, New York. Yeah. And I think that's April 6th and 7th. I believe it's April.
I just missed you in Philly. Were you in Philly like last
month? Where were you? Oh, I was at the Locust Nerd Festival.
I, for some reason, didn't know. I live in Philly. I live right near the art museum. I'm like 10 minutes away from where you were, and I didn't find out about it until like a week later, and I was pissed. Because there was a couple of people there I wanted to see. Wasn't Tom Scioli there? Or
he was there?
Yeah.
He was there. So God, there's so many people there. But I think Brendan Graham was supposed to be there. And he backed out last minute, yeah. But it was still a good show. It was still
that you missed.
I'm so upset. Yeah. I mean, seriously, like all I would do is, take a bus for 10 minutes and I'd have been there, and just like
That's crazy.
I probably was
You know,
doing nothing but watching like TV or hanging out, and I could have been at the super awesome event. And
man, it was a cool little show too. I think the guys from the Locust Moon comic store picked up the festival from last year, and they made it into their own thing. But I've always wanted to go to Philly. I've never gone, and this was a perfect opportunity. And they were nice enough to like have a table, available. And of course, it's like an hour drive from where I'm at, so it was really cool.
Please come back.
Raven, you're in Pittsburgh now, right?
I am.
The Pittsburgh crew was there. Jim Rugg, Jason Life, they were all there. Do you hang out with them much at all, or no?
No, what's so funny and scary and exciting and wonderful is that I know all these characters and appreciate and admire their work. And after moving to Pittsburgh, I was in like the total throes of like creating my book and its Kickstarter. And that went all the way up to December. And now my life post-December has been nothing but like fulfilling the rewards and all the obligations.
Oh yeah, yep.
So I've been this bizarre like hermit. I don't leave the house. Like when it snows, I just laugh. Come and get me, brother. I don't have to like cut my hair because I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, of course. That's a perk for sure.
I am dying to like, I'm not going to even be so bold as to say hang out, but I would love to just like pick those guys' brains, hang out. It's even like Jim Shooter seems to be readily available. Don Simpson teaches here locally. It's crazy. That's why
nuts. I had no idea Shooter was there. It's nuts.
I don't know if he's there, but like he's just always seems to be about. You see, you're in the grocery store.
He's from Pittsburgh.
Who?
I know Shooter is from Pittsburgh. I don't know if he went back. That'd be interesting to hang out with him. You should hit him up.
Super small little show here. I shouldn't say that. That's insulting. He was at a smaller event, not a giant con.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there.
Yeah, a local show.
Yeah, just a local show, just a one-day thing, and he was there.
Yeah.
So I think he's from this area. Like, this is Gotham City. It's weird. There's a lot of awesome talent here, and I'm dying to like meet him. I'm living in a world of like emails and inboxes.
Painting dunnies all day.
Yeah, that's
right.
It's getting intense.
Dude, well, congratulations on the book. It's great news.
Thank you, sir. Print.
Not the book, the project. I'm looking forward to the book. I can't wait to get it in my hands.
I can't wait.
Same here.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Cried thinking about print is really it's funny, just like so you went from web to like you were like print. I got to self-publish. I mean, it's funny because I tell people I was like, well, this was always designed to be a book, like page flips, everything. The plan has always been to be a book. And like I don't take advantage of digital at all. Like I'm like very draconian, and I'm just telling people, I'm like, guys, you enjoy it. Thank you. That's awesome. Wait till you read it as a book. You're just gonna let
right. I almost did webcomics just because I had no other choice. I mean, it was either that or just making like hand stapling mini comics that no one was gonna read ever. Webcomics was like there was a sort of immediate exposure and feedback from people. It was great.
Yeah.
This was like back in, I don't know, when LiveJournal, when we all had LiveJournal accounts and stuff, there was just a community that was awesome, and that's what I really liked about it. But when I was posting the actual art, that was always like, oh, but this is going to be for my book. This is going to be for the comic that's going to print, and luckily never print half of it,
Right.
Because that's all old stuff, man. Seriously. Craig, you said you had those old Brawls?
The old what?
Do you want the old Brawl comics?
Yeah.
Do you want me? Why don't you mail them to me so I could rip them up?
Do you want to rip them up?
I mean sign them. Let me autograph them for you.
Well, maybe
You'll get
I
them
can
back,
bribe
I swear.
you. Maybe I can bribe you for like the next issue of COPRA for free, or I'm gonna publish page by page each day.
Oh God.
To the internets.
Oh God, no.
So you seriously hate it that much, huh?
I have mixed feelings. There's a fondness for the material, it could be a little better, whatever. I'm just like, I feel that way about, like, I don't know, Zegas sometimes, you know. I feel that way about, like, COPRA number 3 that sometimes, you know. Not so much because this is going by too quickly for me to get, you know, too inverted, but yeah, I'm my own self-critic. I mean, that's the biggest fucking cliche you could say when you're an artist.
It's true. It's true.
But it's true. It's like, I hate that stuff. I can't look at that stuff.
Well,
I hate
all
my
artists
with-
are crazy. This is what I've learned.
Yeah. Well, especially with COPRA, though, if you're gonna go month by month, you gotta just get them out and don't look back. I mean,
Yeah, there's no time for self-reflection, which is awesome.
yeah, that's the awesome part. I mean, not every issue is gonna be the greatest issue, but you know, you keep going. I found, you know, Savage Dragon's my favorite comic, but I'm not afraid to, you know, when we do these interviews or reviews, to knock an issue or something if I didn't like it. I mean, not everything's gonna stick, but overall, you know, it's gonna be a great series. I mean, I haven't.
I don't know. Every
First
issue of The
issue.
Punisher in the 80s was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Just kept getting better, you know?
Oh my God, Will Patricio was on that? Holy crap, he killed it. And then Erik Larsen, I know he hates that, but I'm sorry, having a raccoon stuck in your jacket and then throwing it at someone who's like running a pseudo-Nazi karate camp in the middle of nowhere, come on, man, that's comics.
Is your Castillo character a nod to Frank Castle, or?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, his name is Francis Castillo.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
There you go. Yeah, but my Punisher is like an old, ugly man, the way he should be, not some hotshot with a goatee. Who's that crap?
Yeah, but you know, you
Come
look
on.
at Larsen's version of the Punisher. He made him really kind of.
Yeah, he made him with those little triangles and stuff. Man, I love that
Yeah.
stuff.
Kind of looks like an old Clint Eastwood or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's good. He looks like the old Ross Andrew version, you know,
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
widow's peak and just that weird jaw. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I remember that was the first Larsen comic I got, man, 331.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I was listening to Lisa Stansfield on MTV in the background. It's fucking great. I think I was eating like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's awesome.
Larsen, you ruined my life. Jesus.
It's a religious moment. You have
Oh,
every
man.
detail.
Yeah, as every comic should be.
It's funny though, like that you say that, because I remember like my first real Larsen comic that I was like, it clicked with me was like 330 something with the Vulture, when it was like part of that Sinister Six storyline with the Vulture on the cover.
Yeah,
And
when he's dragging that mummy through the air.
Yeah, and I was on my uncle's.
Not mummy, a
fishing-
dummy.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like a weird pinkish cover or something like that. I don't know, but he's like, you know, it's the Vulture on the front. Like, I don't know, it's 330 something or something like that.
Yeah. It's one
and
of
I
those
went back
parts.
and bought. Yeah, but I was on my like uncle's like fishing boat, and I brought a bunch of comics I bought from like the supermarket with me. I wasn't really into collecting comics. I would just like get them here and there just to keep me entertained.
Yeah.
And I just was like an epiphany. It was like, oh my God, this is like nothing I've ever seen before. And I went back and like, I think I started with like 330. After reading that one, I went back and got 330 up, and from then on was like a lifelong Larsen fan. Just followed it everywhere. And I don't know what it was that clicked so much, but listening to you and how, you know, it affected you, it just brings back how it affected me. And I don't know what it is. No other artist has done it to that effect as Larsen did with that issue. But yeah, it's funny that, you know, you can close your eyes or whatever and visualize where you were when you picked up, you know, 330 or 331 or whatever you said.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's led you here. You're running a podcast about his work. You know, that's awesome. I mean, that's like, you're putting this out in the world. I think you guys are doing a public service. It's awesome.
In a lot of ways, we feel like culture astronauts. You know,
Sure, that's a good spin.
we're going to discover bold new realities.
I know.
No, if you really want to be a culture astronaut, you got to get Vic Bridges in here. You got to have him explain everything to you guys.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Just like, what
Someday.
the hell happened, man? You came back and then you left, and then you came back again, and then you left.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to hear him speak.
He had a higher calling or something.
Yeah, a couple of times. But then he came back to do a couple of backups. That's cool. I'm into that. Anyway, guys, it's been great talking to you. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, this has been
Definitely.
great. Thanks for coming on.
And
Of course.
hope we see a lot more from you, good sir.
Of course, yeah, I'm not going away.
Work
We'll be
until you
looking-
die.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to the monthly COPRA issues. And do you got any more Zegas down the pipeline, or is that kind of on hold until you get some COPRA out of the way? Or
I got some Zegas coming out soon. As soon as I find the time, wedge it in there somehow. But yeah, I got some stuff coming out.
cool.
Awesome.
Somehow it'll get done.
Yeah, well, keep us in the loop of what's going on, and we'd love to have
course,
you on
yeah.
for your next big project, and we look forward to reading your books.
Cool. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys around issue 200. Deal?
Fantastic.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right, Raven, Craig, Jim, it was a pleasure.
Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
take care.
good night.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
See ya.
So that wraps it up for this episode. This has been a pretty good episode, I think. That was a pretty great interview.
I had a great time talking
Yeah.
comics with Michel.
Definitely.
Hope you can join us again for sure.
Next time, we aren't entirely sure of what we're planning. We're either going to be, of course, reviewing Savage Dragon 185, which we do not yet have a street date on, but should be out within the next few weeks. We hope. What do we know about that issue?
It's the verdict. Savage Dragon is on trial for crimes he committed when he had reverted to his Emperor persona. Now the world is his witness as the shocking verdict is read. Meanwhile, Malcolm Dragon has troubles of his own. Thunderhead and Double Page comes with our highest recommendation. I think I just read the wrong thing, didn't I?
No, that's right.
That's it?
No, that's the verdict. I'm actually surprised it's called the verdict, because that means this is going to be a very short.
So Double Page comes back, I guess, again with Thunderhead.
I was just thinking that myself. Maybe she escapes after Malcolm knocked her out this issue.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I
There
guess
you
we'll
go.
find out
We'll
what that
see.
means.
so
We'll
we'll
see.
either be doing that, or I'm looking
Or
forward
maybe-
to. Go ahead.
Or maybe it went through a rewrite and she wound up in this issue and not next issue.
Yeah,
Who knows?
But
Because he does this so far in advance.
Right. So yeah, either we're going to be reviewing that, or we're going to be interviewing Gary Carlson, which either way we're going to have a good time doing. So we'll
wonder
see
if
what happens when we get there.
I wonder if 185 is going to have a backup of any sort, because we're all done with Vanguard at this point. I wonder if there's any plans.
Oh, I think it'll be a surprise.
It will be, so we'll see. So yeah, next time, either review or interview, or both. I mean, we did that this time, so who knows?
Either way, it's going to be awesome.
It's
You
going to
should
be,
there.
yes.
So long.
The Savage Fincast is a part of the Gutter Trash Network and the Image Addiction family of podcasts. It can be found at either fincast.guttertrash.net or imageaddiction.net.